This is episode 119 of Hebrews in Exile with our honorable teacher, Robert B. Holman Jr. and Sean Appleton. And we are going to talk about a myriad of issues in this particular podcast. Not any one thing is going to get discussed in its totality, but we will talk about this epidemic of having a blind stupor, where you're not able to see the things that are important to the Most High because you're blinded by propaganda and culture in this present day age. So, without any further ado, Hebrews in Exile, you know what we do. Let's go!
You're a creation. You make everything right. Here's Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr. and
Sean Appleton.
And this is Hebrews in Exile. There is a lot going on in the world.
You know what didn't happen? We didn't laugh when we opened up.
Oh, we didn't?
Yeah. We usually start. So you hitting them with the heavy stuff. Already y'all are so doomed. We didn't forgot to laugh. So here's y'all laughter.
That's because we've been sitting here talking for 20 minutes before we even decided to turn the pod on. That's why we already laughed.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's heavy.
There is a lot of things going on in the world. You and I, each week, come to the table with something out of text. And we may get there tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But being in a political mindset in terms of things that are going on in the world and realizing that people do not realize that the things that are going on in the world are at the behest of the Most High.
True. Orchestration of the Most High is ever so apparent. And here's the most interesting part. I wasn't going to say funny because it's not funny. What's interesting is that this history is repeating itself because we're seeing the same types of things mirrored in this day and age that happened during the time of our ancestors. And because we have this blind stupor, because of the way text has been introduced to us and we don't see it through the eyes of the Hebrew, we miss it. And, you know, some of us are just lost.
We're going to talk about probably a lot of things in this pod this evening. But once something has taken hold as an epidemic, it's hard to change it. I mean, we just came through an epidemic with COVID. And while there is a cure that has, you might say, minimized the effects of it in its inception, COVID is still here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you'll go through the process of maybe even going through it, but at a reduced severity.
So what am I talking about? We in the United States of America have a gun epidemic. And
you noticed that, huh?
Oh yeah. And you know, there is I'm going on record to say this.
Okay. Okay now.
There is absolutely no legislation that can be passed or will be passed in the lifetime of any American where this epidemic will be stymied, reduced, or go away.
Yeah, you know, I want to hear some more of your viewpoints on that, because it's
And
Yeah.
and one of the reasons why it's not going to go away is because as a nation that is wicked, and this nation is wicked. I couldn't find the text, and I don't remember where it is, but it talks about giving you leaders after your own heart.
Well, I think I got you. Come on, keep talking. I'm going to find it for you.
So since we are under leaders that are wicked, not just in Congress, not just in the White House, but that is pervasive within the framework of this diasporic nation that we are in, even in pulpits of America, this wickedness is pervasive. You cannot control or legislate out something that you allowed to become a disease amongst the fiber of your people.
And that's the greater propensity for violence.
Yes.
And that's one of the things, and I think where you were speaking from, now correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to try to turn there, is Jeremiah chapter number 3, verse 15.
See if it's there.
I believe that's where you wanted to go, but as I'm turning there, I've noticed that too. I have two adolescent young men. I'd say one, he's still in elementary school. The other one is getting ready to come out of high school. And as they watch their social media, as they watch TV, the United States in specificity, in this Western, I would say westernized cultures in particular, have a propensity for violence. Every movie that you see, even some of the sitcoms that you see, there's this propensity for drama. If somebody's not getting blown up or shot or killed or whatever, it doesn't make good entertainment. You're not going to get views, at least from our experience in the United States, which is a shame, because we're gearing and I'm trying to wait till you get to the end of this, because I'll hear a lot of banter from the other side about, we need these particular protections in place. And I think this is probably maybe separate from your issue of saying, I need to be able to protect myself. There's a difference between protecting yourself and the issue of pushing this need for violence everywhere and everything that you touch. If I can't conquer it through some type of form of violence, then it doesn't compute.
There have been over 200. I think it's over 200 plus mass shootings in the United States this year, and we're not even halfway through. I think that was the statistic that I saw. And in my opinion,
that's not it. That's not the place that you want.
In my opinion, it's not safe. Now I'm gonna preface this.
Okay.
It's not safe for a person who is outside the protection of the Most High by walking in his ways to be caught in an environment in which it is not safe. Because you have no protection. Now, we'll probably talk about this evening. We probably will. And no disrespect to a person's belief, but Jesus is not protecting you.
He's not. Not especially when. No, he's not.
And so you say, well, why would you say that? Because the protection of Hebrew Israel is not a man.
It's correct.
The protection for Hebrew Israel is stated in Numbers, where he said, I am not a human.
That's correct.
The Spirit of the Most High is the protection of his people. And that is borne out over and over and over again in the Psalms as King David retorts his need for covering, his need for protection in the midst of all of his enemies. And he speaks to the Most High and he says, you know that I walk in your ways.
That's right. See, there again, what in your ways are the mitzvots.
The mitzvots.
And he calls upon, he does the same thing as when we go into prayer. He calls upon the things that the Most High has done before in the past.
In the past.
And says, hey, listen, I've followed your ways. If you said, I will do this, then you will do X. We have to, you eloquently put, we have to, not to say that the Most High needs to be reminded. He doesn't.
No.
It's obviously mainly for us to understand this is what's been happening.
Right.
So we call upon it.
Right. Now, I guess I'm kind of, right now I'm in a political mode.
Okay. What's happened that sparked this?
I said in 2020, I said to the congregation, when all of the various individuals were running for president, I said to this congregation, if Donald Trump is elected president, the United States of America will have hell to pay.
And he looks like a viable candidate for this next year?
And with him being a candidate for 2024, if this man is elected president for another 4-year term, the United States of America and melanated people, black and brown people in this nation will have hell to pay under his leadership and the leadership of the Republican Party. You can look forward to having hell to pay. If you don't have the covering of the Most High El on your side, well, then I really feel sorry for you.
Yeah, ancestry, we can go back and look at all the times that we were put under oppression, and when we called on the Most High protected those faithful few. But any other time, trust me, you were under some serious
So now
positioning where you could get messed up.
So now let me say this to you. With that being the case, we go back. We can now go into text.
Okay.
And we can look at every text in the book of Judges, every last text in the book of Judges.
Sure.
Where Hebrew Israel was being oppressed by a nation of people that was oppressing her, or her oppressors were oppressing her to the point that she had no other opportunity but to cry out to the Most High and to turn back. The Most High sent her a deliverer. Now, herein lies the problem, because there's an elephant in the room.
Yeah, there's a big one. Big one.
There's an elephant in the room.
You want to call him out by name?
And I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to where we were last week, in Isaiah 40, and we're gonna see something here. Where is it?
Isaiah 40.
18.
40 and 18.
I can't get past this. I cannot get past this. With whom then will you compare El? By what standard will you evaluate him?
an image made by a craftsman, which is
verse 25.
overlaid with gold.
Verse 25. With whom then will you compare me? With whom am I equal as the set apart one?
Yeah. And it's a rhetorical question because you already know the answer to that. No one.
See, so historically, textually and historically, in every instance that you and I have read in scripture texts, and not only in scripture texts, but read in historical books where Israel was under the attack of an enemy and she was in right standing with the Most High, he was their deliverer.
True. I need not go any further than the study that we're doing now.
And any time
on Yehudit.
And any time she was not in compliance, she got her little behind destroyed.
Yeah. Which brings you to your point to say, again, we could possibly be on the precipice of 4 years of something where if you thought we were still being oppressed, where you brought up in a couple podcasts ago, a woman is going to confront another person about a violation of her child, and she is brutally murdered without even saying a word to this particular woman, just because of the fact of the stereotypical angry black woman. She's coming, these melanated people are coming into my neighborhood and they're coming to terrorize me. And I have to defend myself with violence, not by any diplomacy, but by violence. And so I can attest, I'm not a person that looks for the evil in people. And I think both you and we can't be racist just by definition, but we can be biased. We can have our prejudices, but I don't think this next statement is coming from a place of that at all.
No.
We noticed that during the time that when the former president was in place, President Trump, that there was a rise in boldness against melanated people that was always there, but it felt it was comfortable at that particular time because they had a leader after their own heart that they felt as though that they could act and function that way.
Who himself is a coward.
Mm-hmm.
He's cowardice.
Mm-hmm.
And so he incites other people to do that which is in his heart that he won't do because he's a coward about doing it.
Mm.
Therefore, we now are confronted with here's the deal. You can say that, well, I don't follow Paul. You live in a nation
mm-hmm.
where the governing rules and the legislative policies that are passed are being written to affect you.
Correct.
They're written to affect you.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And there's a text, I can't remember, I saw it, I thought it was in Isaiah 10 about unjust rules. And the Most High speaks in text about nations who purport unjust rules. And I thought it was in Isaiah 10, but I don't remember exactly where it was now. But my point that I'm making here is that it's inevitable. It is inevitable. I really want you to hear this. It's inevitable that Hebrew Israel in exile is going to be confronted with such a force of what's the word I'm looking for?
Resistance?
Yeah, resistance from the nations that's going to cause her to stop, think about her position, and people are going to be turning and looking for an answer. And the problem with that, the problem with what I'm talking about is you and I sit in this podcast every week and we talk about the impending disaster that's going to befall Hebrew Israel in the last days for which we are in. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the numbers of the individuals that listen to our podcast. There are about 300 plus. Mm-hmm. We now have over 12.5 thousand downloads. And there is there is absolutely no sense of urgency in the hearts and minds of our people. None. No urgency. There's no urgency.
Right.
So now we get back to the book of Judges. The Most High allowed the Philistines and other nations to rain down pain and anguish and despair upon Israel, to the point that she recognized it and began to cry out to the Most High. Now we have to talk about, what does that mean? Yeah, we do. Because I was going to say, I'm going to tell you what. I mean, before you say that.
Okay, go ahead.
That doesn't mean she was crying tears, which she probably was physically. But the cry out, what is it? Because you're never going to hear in any Christian church what it means to cry out to the Most High. Oh, we're going to have a prayer meeting and we're going to cry out to the Lord and He's going to hear us. No, that is not what it means.
No, this crying out has some empirical evidence of some behavioral traits. You've gone back to the Most High. You've actually started instantiating the mitzvots back into your community as a lifestyle. It's what you live, eat, sleep, and breathe. And you're telling the Most High with what we talked about earlier offline, which was having a heart that has been humbled enough to say, listen, we see the error of our ways. Most High, we're doing what you're asking us to do. Please come help and deliver us. That's what it means to cry out to the Most High. We got some type of, your action and your lifestyle is right in line with what text has prescribed. But the thing is that's interesting to me is the fact that, like you mentioned before, our people, once it gets real heavy, they ain't going to know who to turn back to.
That's my point.
And the problem is with these folk is that what we were getting ready to talk about earlier today, which I wanted to express to you, which was kind of this understanding as to understanding why we got 300 people that's only subscribed to us and 12,000 downloads, which should be in the millions, quite frankly, and should be hundreds of thousands of followers. But I understand the reason why we don't. And this is why I believe we don't. Okay? You and I have a problem on our hands. And the problem is that we carry this bag called truth with us. And nobody likes to hear that. Now think about it for a second. Anytime that you turn on your social media or you go someplace in life during an everyday occurrence, how often are you going to some place or sitting down somewhere where you're physically sitting down and learning something? When you turn on your TV, you want to be entertained by whatever baseball game is on, whatever is on the TV. You're either going to see some entertainment in the form of some violence that we talked about earlier, or some type of comedy that's going on. When you go to your 7, 8, 9 and whatever o'clock service across the street, you're looking to mainly get what? entertained, because when you ask the parishioners what they learned that particular day, they can't tell you a doggone thing that was talked about on stage. And that's part of the problem at the end of the day, is that we don't have this sense of truth about anything that we instantiate in our lives. We're always looking for somebody to entertain us. So when you have two individuals coming every single week on a podcast and actually on the Shabbat saying, "Thus saith the Most High" to his people about community, how we're supposed to govern ourselves, that's education. And people don't want to be taught. People want to be entertained. That's our problem.
Well, that's no different. That's no different than Israel in text.
True to form.
I mean, why did Israel decide that they wanted a king? Why? Because everybody else had
one. Yeah.
Why did Israel decide that, we look out there and we see the other nations, they're out there worshiping on the high hills, and they got Asherahs, and they got all this going on, and all we got is you.
Wow,
we can't see you.
Mm-hmm.
We can't touch you.
Yeah, I need to.
All we got is you.
Which is hilarious because that's enough.
And we want to be like them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, somebody asked me, somebody said to me, "Why is it that you are the only one that knows this?" I said, "What?" Knows that the Codex of Scripture
mm-hmm.
has within it a volume of truth,
mm-hmm.
of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding,
mm-hmm.
and helps me to understand the mindset of the Creator. I'm the only one? You're saying, why am I the only one that knows this? I said, I'm not the only one that knows it. I may be the only one that's making the greatest noise about it within the community to which that I live in.
Correct.
But I'm not the only one that knows it.
Yeah.
And I says, man,
it was almost like it's a discrediting question. Like,
and I said, I'm in a platform where I would be remiss of the Most High if the Most High allowed me to know something about him and his people, and I refuse to share it.
Right.
I mean, he's given us this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to share.
Exactly.
But there's this elephant in the room.
Yeah. And none of our, just a quick point, none of our ancestors did that. You just talked about when, for 100, I keep going back to this dude because you put it in my spirit. For 120 years, this man witnessed to people about this impending flood that was coming. He could have easily just said, you know what, I'm just going to keep this to myself and let y'all all die. But he went out there and he had a mandate to go ahead and tell the people. It's upon them if they don't want to listen.
But not only that, in text, you have all of the prophets.
True.
Whom the Most High used as warning instruments to Israel about what he was going to do if they continued to function in wickedness.
Exactly.
He warned them. Before he passed judgment, he sent warning after warning after warning. And the problem that I'm disturbed about is that as we sit before these microphones on this particular day of podcasting, we are in the midst of the same warning patterns,
mm-hmm.
and I can't say that. Nobody seems to even care. One, because they don't even know that judgment is in the land and it must first begin at his house.
I'm going to say something. Our people, wow.
I mean, this
is on topic.
I mean, this disturbs my spirit.
Just how blind of a stupor we are as a people.
It disturbs my spirit
to not even recognize that, because part of it is a systematic issue, which I'm going to get into, which I just talked about. The fact that when people talk about this text, they're talking about it from a standpoint where they're being taught by individuals who don't know how to teach how to even read the thing. Now, I had made mention of that. How in the world are you going to be able to study anything, even if you're going to study Bible? Let's talk about Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. You're used to hearing that vernacular, that parlance, those terms. You can't even do it correctly because you haven't been taught the mitzvot. You can't understand anything in that book unless you come in understanding the mitzvot. You have a whole different aperture has been changed on how you look at the text, so you're not seeing anything that the Most High wants you to see, because it doesn't start with the base foundation of understanding the mitzvot, and everything comes out of that. That is your core foundation. It doesn't start with Matthew chapter 1, which in my opinion explains to you the agenda of the whole entire Bible, but it doesn't start there in the Gospels. You have to start at the beginning. And again, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to keep harping on it because it was one of the coldest things you have said. And I've not been able to get rid of it out of my hubris. And for the last 2 weeks since you said it, as it shall be in the end is in the days of Noah. Them folk now, as it was then, didn't care. They don't care if the ground shook. So what? They don't care if they're getting a man trying to tell them, or individuals trying to tell them. His whole family was probably ministering at that particular time, not only him, but to tell these people, this is the impending danger that's coming. And then when it shows up, whether it be Trump or somebody else down the line, and you're beating on the door, looking around, talking about where do we get in? You still won't have a clue because you don't know who to call upon, because you haven't been taught by your leaders how to even read the thing that's in front of you. That is a technical manual. Anytime that thing explains to you history, community, government, social, economics, you're talking about a plethora of items, helping you mature, helping your, it's ethical, like you've always said, it's morality that's in there. You need to be taught technically how to read that, not just simply look at it and say, oh, look at this cute little situation, this anecdotal situation, and this is how you can apply it to your PG&E light bill.
They can't. They can't. They can't. I'm going to say this.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. Our people can't do what you just explained. And the reason why they can't do what you just explained is because they have been Hellenized into a Greek idea that told them that our codex, the quote, Old Testament, is archaic, it's old, it's out of touch with the reality, and furthermore, we're not under that document. So if that's the premise that drives the thought process of the individuals that are supposed to be teaching them the ways of the Most High, let's use this analogy. You left where you were and you were headed for truth, but you're so far offline that you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it for the whole rest of your life and eternity.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
you can't.
I'm not speechless. I'm just at a point where I'm saying that we have individuals that come into our congregation to visit, and they listen to what we have to say, and then of course, because we are anti the elephant in the room, and I'm not going to keep calling him the elephant in the room, I'm going to say because we're anti Greek New Testament, which puts Jesus Christ on the outside and not on the inside, and they want to come and try to make us believe that this man is the same entity as the absolute all-existent one, and I have to tell him he's not. There's no way he can be, because he violates every principle that is written in text. And see, we get back. I'm going to get back to what you opened up with. The issue is the matter of truth. Truth. Emet. Truth. Truth is an enemy to the lie. And I'm going to say it in this context. At this point, it seems in the natural eye that the lie is winning, and truth is failing. I said to the eye.
Yeah, to the eye. That's
truth is not losing.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct.
You know how you listen, how you watch a movie, and there's the villain. And it looks like the villain's getting away, and you're sitting there, man. I can't wait for the villain to get caught. I know he's going to get caught. Can't wait for the villain, and the villain gets yeah, they got him. Okay, you feel real good about it.
Right.
That's truth.
That's right. And truth. And here's the thing. This is why I also think it's unappealing to a lot of people as well. What we're talking about, because I'm gonna blow our own shofar. You know, well, wag your own tail.
My daddy said it's a poor dog who won't wag his own tail.
Hey, it gets really egregious when, let me just get there. That is why congregations, and this is going to sound arrogant, but I don't care. This is why this congregation is important, because the very thing that we're talking about is we are just trying to restructure and reformulate individuals' minds so they can say, okay, when they're coming in here and they want to speak a word and say, well, Jesus Christ is X and he is this and he is that. And we have to dispel that. And it's because what we're doing, the work that we're doing here, we're taking the text. We were raised that way.
Yes.
And we came back and we said, this is a technical manual. We need to learn how to read it. And that's all we're doing. We're going back through the manual based off of how we've been taught to read it, which is through the eyes of the mitzvot. And it gives you a whole nother perspective, because when you take a look at the text, the authors assume that you know it.
Yes.
Even your Christ assumes that you know it. And I used the example this past week. If you don't know the mitzvots, you will simply look at that situation where he says, you can eat my flesh and drink my blood. Oh, they just didn't believe in Christ. How terrible is that? No, it has nothing to do with the belief in Christ.
No.
It has everything to do with the violation that came out of his mouth. And so therefore the writer assumes you know that. So it doesn't appear like, oh, well, they just left and how rude was that? It wasn't rude. It was the appropriate response, because anything less than that would have incriminated them, saying you're going along with this blasphemous teaching that's in here. And then the help and the protection that you're talking about that they're looking for. Matter of fact, this man's mission, if you read in text, what was this man's mission? It was to go and get the lost sheep of whom and bring them back.
Bring them back to where?
It wasn't to heaven.
Sure wasn't.
So
what was he supposed to bring them back from? To?
He was supposed to bring them to land. And that never happened.
No.
Oh, okay. Where was he supposed to take them?
No. He was supposed to bring them back to Torah.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go. So
he was supposed to bring them back to Torah.
Okay. And that didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
Because why? Even the people that were out there knew that the things that he was saying was not of Torah.
And if he was the king of Israel, he was supposed to restore the dynasty of David. That didn't happen.
Right. So we're not trying to, or I should say this, we're trying to take the data that's being presented, weigh the data upon which, and that's the thing. A lot of y'all Ibir out here, you Hebrews, some of y'all still in Christianity, wherever you are, Islam, whatever you are, you are going to have to understand that at some point in your life, you're going to have to take the information, which is what's presented, the data, the oldest, most credible form of text, which is the Masoretic text. There's no question about that.
Nope.
Science, archaeologists, all kinds of anthropology, people that are in those sciences will all agree this is the oldest, most credible form of written text that we have. All other religions come out of it. Christianity comes out of it. Islam comes out of it. And if you get these core principles down and you start weighing what you've been taught against the Masoretic text, you see a lot of that stuff doesn't hold water. So again, I'll come back to my original point, which is the issue of what you were talking about with truth. People don't want it, partly because of the fact that we've been ingrained in this culture with social media, with the things that we see on TV, which is the same thing over again. TV is just propaganda. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it is contrived propaganda, which I'm going to say, this is going to sound hard. It's the same thing that the Nazis did in their day and age. They used that media engine in order to influence people. And it's the same thing that's happening today. What are they influencing you with now? That homosexual relationships are okay because it's ingrained everywhere. When you turn on that TV, you can't watch a show without having to be ingrained in there because there's an agenda that's there. If you think that just turning on the TV is amoral, you're not even looking at it correctly. You got to see the agenda and everything that's there because it has everything to do with ratings. It has everything to do with our capitalistic society. That's why it doesn't work, because the God here in the westernized culture is money and everything revolves around it. Even to your pastor on Sunday morning, he will tell you whatever you want to hear in order to maintain that lifestyle and that building that he has. Truth it matters. And I'm telling you, once people started teaching it, you're going to start people gravitating away from it because they love the lie. I had an old pastor, and I've been talking for a while. I'm going to jump in here. I had an old pastor at an old church that I remember him saying this. He says, he stood in front of the congregation and he says, let me tell you what sin is. And I'll never forget this. He said, let me tell you what sin is. He says, he's a Christian now. The devil, when he presents sin, he always presents sin in a pretty package. He never presents sin something where you won't accept it. It's always going to come in a form that's acceptable to you, that's easy, that you don't have to do this. You don't have to do the life is just grand. It's greener on the other side. And then once you get over there, you find out all the grass is burnt. So I'm saying that to say, I'm going off on the rabbit trail after rabbit trail after rabbit trail.
Okay. That's okay.
Truth matters, and you have to be able to evaluate the data, weigh it with a open mind, not so open where your brain falls out, but open enough to where you can see the Most High. He's in front of you all the time. You can't go outside without seeing the Most High and all of his creation and all that he's done.
It literally breaks my heart when I have to hear in news that a little baby got shot. It breaks my heart to hear that a little 3-year-old child got shot. It breaks my heart to hear and to see mothers holding their head in anguish because their melanated black or brown child, son, daughter, granddaughter, grandchild, or a member of their family has been shot. And I know, because it's ingrained in melanated people that Jesus is a savior. But Jesus is not saving you. There's nothing that he is doing to protect you. And while there are maybe millions and millions of other Christians say, well, I pray to Jesus and he does that for me. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. It's just a matter of time.
No. Very true.
It's just a matter of time.
Just a matter of time. Yeah, you're right. And it's sad, yeah.
It's a matter of time before the wickedness and the perversive evil that this nation that we live in is going to implode. Mm-hmm. And judgment is going to be visible to the point where we're going to be back in scriptorial times where there's going to be a cry. And the cry is going to be this. Mm-hmm. It's really we're going to get back to the question, what do I have to do to be saved? That's going to be the question. And we've already been through life to recognize that calling on Jesus is not the answer.
That's correct.
So now the question is, what do I have to do to be delivered? Now, we have this whole component of saved. Well, I'm saved. Saved from what? Hell?
Right.
Hell doesn't exist.
Woo, yeah, don't say that.
Saved from what? Saved from sin? No, you're not, because your own text says if you say you have no sin, you lie and the truth is not in you. So you're not saved from sin. So what are you saved from? It's quantitative.
Right. That's right.
It's quantitative. Mm-hmm. The Most High delivered Israel from her enemies.
Yes.
The Most High delivered King David from his enemies. Mm-hmm. That was quantitative.
That's right.
He didn't deliver him from sin. He delivered him from his enemies.
That's right.
And your text in 1 John chapter 3 says that sin is a transgression of the law.
That's right.
And if you say we're not under the law, then your text is telling you have transgressed the law. And therefore you are in sin. So you haven't been redeemed from it. You're not saved from it. Mm-hmm. So please tell me, what in the world are you from? What?
Yeah, what are you saved from?
And we're confronted with the text that I talked about a few months ago, and I don't have my notes in front of me now. You know, I don't remember things. I just remember scripture.
You know more than
they that call up on the name of in your Greek Bibles, it says the Lord, so now we'll be saved. So now you're thinking that if I call upon Jesus, I'm going to be saved. But that's not what the Hebrew text what the Hebrew text says.
That's correct.
The Hebrew text says, and it's written in the Codex, they that call up on the name of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh.
Yep.
Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, E-A-H-E-H. Mm-hmm. Go tell them. He says to Moshe in Exodus 3:13 through 15, go tell them that Iye Asher Yiyeh
has sent me.
Yep. The El of Abraham, the El of Yitzchak and Yaakov, and this shall be my name throughout all generations. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahweh. So those that call upon the name of Yahweh will be saved. What does save mean? It means that you will be delivered from your enemies. Mm-hmm. That's what you're going to be saved from, not some place that doesn't exist.
Right.
I mean, the Most High created the heavens and the earth, and He created everything in it. And then it said, and then on the seventh day He rested. Did He forget something?
That's right. He rested from all that He had created.
Did He forget something?
Yeah,
He created. So if He created all things, He had to create a heaven and He had to create a hell. But hell is not mentioned anywhere in the text of being created. So did he forget something? Or is that also the fact that he's ineffective and ineffective?
Yeah, and always not that.
I'm getting all worked up. So now you're telling me that God that you love so much, I don't use that term, but I'm going to do it now. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that God that you love so much is imperfect.
Right. You've reduced him down to a meager man who tends to forget things from, where did I put my car keys? Where did I set my glasses down? No, the Most High knows the beginning from the end. So if he knew that there was going to be a hell, he would have mentioned it.
He would have mentioned it
at the beginning, because I'm creating all of this. Why wouldn't I mention that? So that brings into subjection to what if he created hell, then what else did he create that we don't know about? We don't leave that up to circumstantial evidence. We'll say, hey, listen, the Most High created all these things, and this is what it is.
Listen, people. He said, the elephant in the room said, I am the truth, the way, and the life. That is a total lie.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the truth because he doesn't purport the truth that resides out of the mouth of the Most High. He uses language that says, I know what the Most High said,
mm-hmm.
but I say.
Mm-hmm.
So now when you start changing what the Most High said to what you said, we're now discrediting what the Creator of all things has put in place. And I don't care what your argument is. He does not have the authority or the power to change what the opulent spirit, which is not a man, put in place for Hebrew Israel. Now, I'm going to say this.
Okay, come on.
Please hear me. Please hear me. People can do and believe whatever they want to believe. They can do that. I'm not discrediting your ability to believe what you want and what you don't want to believe. You can turn me off. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Okay? But for Hebrew Israel,
mm-hmm.
there is a mandate. Hear, O Israel, I am Echad.
Yeah.
I'm one.
I'm one.
You shall have no other El besides me.
Right.
That's all I need to know. I don't need to argue. I don't need to argue any other point that people want to bring to me about, well, Echad can mean something else. No, it means I'm one.
Right.
I'm one.
Right.
And then we just read in Isaiah 40, who do you compare me with?
Exactly.
Who are you comparing? Who are you comparing me with?
That's right. Yeah, there's no set of criteria upon which you can evaluate someone else's ability to say that they're on my level.
Well, I heard what he said. Let us make. Well, who was he talking to when he said let us? Oh, you thought that the thought of the creation of a anointed one was in his mind when he said that? That's called Jesus? No.
Mm-mm.
When the text says, I wisdom was with
there.
him in the beginning.
Yeah.
I wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see, I get worked up about this because there is a way that seems right unto men, but the end thereof is destruction. It's the same narrative as watching the villain be so destructive, and you're sitting there watching, well, are they going to catch him? Are they going to catch him? Oh, I'll be so glad when they catch this villain. Oh, man, are they going to catch him? And then when they catch the villain, you go, boy, I'm glad they got him.
Yeah, it's like, one of them, it feels like you're living in a movie like Clue or something where the villain is walking around with you the whole entire time, and he plays himself off like he's just this benevolent soul that can I'm the most unsuspecting person in the room. It can't be me. And then you come to find out, it's like, well, I've been following after this for so long, and I hate the kind of testimonies that you run across where you've run across it where it says it's just too late for me. Even though I hear what you're saying, I'm so far gone that that doesn't even benefit me to even go down that particular road. But here's something that you mentioned. I don't know why I'm tinkering with this. Why you spoke it into the atmosphere is when you said, "Let us make man." And I'm sitting here saying to myself, even in the fiber of what the Most High is doing in making man, he spoke what he spoke into existence and created and formed man. But out of all the things that he created were made to obey the laws that he put in place for that particular thing that he made. The trees follow the laws. Yep. The sun follows its laws. Yep. The moon, the stars, everything that you can interact with your five senses gives you.
Let's put it in this context. Let's just encapsulate it.
Sure.
Everything that the Most High created follows his laws except man.
Well, I was going to say, when it comes to man, that's the way he was designed, was to not be a violation of what he created. You're not made to violate it. It's by your own choosing and your free will that you decide to do so. And man is the only creation that's been given that ability, that will, that cognitive ability, that cognitive
to choose,
be able to discern between whether they're going to go this way or another way. And so that leads in the text where it's not the Most High's desire to, inflict all this pain on individuals. He doesn't.
Because, and then the question becomes one, what pleasure does he get from that?
There's no pleasure that comes out of that at all. And so,
because he says in text, I find no pleasure in the destruction of the wicked.
Right. But see, I'm going to give you an accolade real quick. I'm going to do it. Even though you don't want to. I know we are as men, we don't like accolades, but I'm going to give you one. That goes to show you where we are as Ibir. Because we could easily say, you know what, this message from here on out is for the Ibir. Whatever happens to you other folk out there, that's fine. If you don't want to listen, I don't care about you no more. But I don't think that was the heart and the mind of Yermehu, Nahum, Amos, Obadiah, all those individuals, Yonah.
The prophets, that wasn't their mindset.
Their mindset was to the people. Listen, I'm going over here and I'll need you guys to understand. Now, granted, I'm not going to go into your text that you in and try to point out its flaws, but understand where you come from and the opulence and the benevolence of the Most High that our ancestors once served. And you could, even with Noah, he was ministering to everybody. It wasn't like.
So here's text. Here's text. Text says that the Most High loves the son whom he chastens. Yeah. Well, now the question becomes one. Who's the Most High's son?
Easy. Let's go to Exodus on that one. Exodus 4 and 22 or 20, somewhere in there.
He says, Israel is my firstborn son.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, the judgment that befalls Hebrew Israel in wherever she is, or wherever she or he is in the world, is being chastised by the Most High because the Most High loves her.
True.
Or loves him.
True.
Okay?
True.
We're not talking about JC because JC's not his son. The Most High knows who was his son. He already spoke in Exodus who his son was. And you cannot find me one text anywhere in the Hebrew writing where the Most High declares his son to be any person or thing except Hebrew Israel.
That's correct. That's correct. It's never written anywhere else.
Nowhere.
Very true.
So I mean, I use the analogy, as I always do. A father ought to know his son.
That's true. Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh.
So the judgment that is coming, has been coming, but is going to become more violent, is simply because out of it all, in the place where we are, even in this United States of America, the judgment that's going to fall is going to fall because he loves you, Hebrew, and he wants you to turn back to him, cry out to him, turn from the wickedness of idolatry and turn back to him so that he can do something else that's quantitative.
Yeah.
Redeem you.
Right.
Redemption is quantitative.
Right.
He can redeem you out of this exile and bring you back to a place of peace. Now.
Well, hold on. Go ahead and talk about the heart. The heart has to be behind it, because we can't fall into this thing where we're back in Noah's day, where you're doing where the heat gets cranked up.
No, yeah,
and you're just out here just trying to save your own rear end.
Yeah, I mean the issue is that when we can go back to text again in the book of Judges.
Okay.
The Most High delivered Israel at the hand of the various deliverers that he sent because Israel's heart was in a repentant state.
Right.
And it was in a repentant state as long as the persons that the Most High sent to deliver them were their leaders, because their leaders held them accountable.
Yeah.
And when their leaders died, there was no one to hold them accountable that they had any respect for. So when we look at the Joshua's, when you look at come on, you just taught
so
them.
yeah, Yahashua was in there. You got the Shimshon's in there. You got the Boers in there. You got Ehud is in there. I think there's a plethora of judges.
When you have all of these judges in there, the respect of the people is drawn to them because the people recognize their position before the Most High. That's why they could hold them accountable. You just delivered us, Deborah. You just came in and delivered us out of the hands of our enemy. And while you have been doing this, we have had peace. We have had food. We have had water. We have had this sense of calm. But we've had this sense of calm because you have been a woman of El that have held us accountable to Torah, so that we could be in the ways of the Most High. We live in a place where, unless there's some outpouring of demonstrative act by the Most High, I'm not following you.
Right.
So you and I, while we speak truth, we can't hold people accountable because they just see us as pure men. Well, Yale hadn't done anything that we should recognize them as being men of El. Why should we listen to them? But Israel listened to Yahashua.
That's right.
Israel listened to Deborah. Israel listened to Gideon. And they listened because those men delivered them where they saw the hand of the Most High doing something. So now and in my mind, I'm starting to think, well, are they worshiping the man or are they worshiping the Most High? Because the text also says that when they died, after they died, Israel resorted to doing that which was wicked in the eyes of the Most High. So who were they following? Were they following the Most High, or were they following the persons who delivered them from their situation? Because if they were following the Most High,
you wouldn't need a person in that. You'd just be doing it, right?
See, past history would tell you, we need to follow the Most High.
Well, let me pose this question, because even in their deliverance from Mitzrayim, they've always had, and I think we've talked about this in another podcast, is that we've always had a propensity for having a good, strong leader. Doesn't necessarily mean we need to have a king, but
we need to have a strong leader.
We need a strong leader. Moshe was excellent strong leader. What other better leader? Even the patriarchs that came before him. Yaakov was a strong leader of his family. You have Avraham, exemplary. And then when you get into Yahashua and you trickle down, they've always had some quintessential person that has been pivotal in their rearing. But you said something that really struck a chord with me, that individuals across the street don't do. They don't hold the people accountable for anything. You're not accountable for the things that you do that are against the Most High. Just put it on this dude. You don't have to be accountable for nothing. And that's the problem. Part of the problem is that you don't have this sense of reverence for anything, because it comes back to square one. Because when you go to your congregation on Sunday, it is not about learning. It is not about truth. It is about feeling good. It's about a social hour.
Yeah, like the lady told me. She told me I was at the doctor's office one day, and one of the receptionists said, "Oh," she said, "I'm so tired." I said, "Why are you tired?" "Oh," I said, "I went to church yesterday, and oh my goodness, oh, he just preached. I just shouted, and I just shouted." I said, "Oh, so you're tired because you went through physical gymnastics?"
That's right. You went to a class, went over at the gym and just worked out for a little bit, but you rolled on the floor.
What did he preach that got you so excited? I don't remember.
Exactly. Because again, we're looking for entertainment as a people. We're looking for the good time. We're looking for all that stuff.
People.
Not truth.
People. I don't know how long we've been talking this evening, but the whole issue is that you cannot legislate Black Lives Matter. You're not going to get any justice from this nation. If you're black and brown, you're not going to get any justice from this nation that we live in. Mm-hmm. So now you have to ask yourself a question. Then how do I protect myself? Well, you can't protect yourself with a gun, because you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can't protect yourself with a gun. And this law that they have, what's the law? They say, well, I can shoot you because I'm of some, I forget what the law is. That law is not going to apply to the black and white man, the black and brown man. Mm. It only applies to the Europeans. Mm. So now you have to ask yourself a question. By what means do I protect myself in this diaspora? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you this once again. They that call upon the name of Yahweh shall be delivered. Mm-hmm. But calling upon the name of Yahweh comes with a responsibility, and that is turning back to his ways, his rules, his precepts, his statutes, his teachings, and his ways of life for Hebrew Israel. Now, it's not just for Hebrew Israel, but it is for the foreigner who also joins with Hebrew Israel. And I declare to you that he says in the Psalms, if your ways please me, I will give you the desires of your heart. Which means that if you're walking in life the way I have laid out for you, Hebrew Israel, to walk in, and it is your desire to be protected, I will guarantee that you will be protected. You and yours. There's no way around this. I know that, well, I prayed to Jesus and he did this and he did. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I was there. Mm-hmm. I was there. I was raised in it. Mm-hmm. I know it. I was raised in it. Mm. I'm not so sure. I am positive that that when you invoke the Father into the discussion, mm-hmm. he takes precedent over anything else that's going to follow. Mm. And the simple thing is, you wouldn't know that. Mm. So if you've been praying and you've been talking to the other guy, but you've invoked the name of the Father, you have given the other guy the credit for what the Father has done.
That's right.
And they are not the same.
No, not at all.
They are not made of the same substance.
That's right. Not even cut from the same cloth.
He came supposedly out of the womb of a woman, and the sperm wasn't even Joseph's. Now you go figure that one out.
Yeah. That's some research. That's for some homework for you to do, because there's some mitzvot violations in that.
And then he says, men that are born of woman are full of sin. He's full of sin. Mm-hmm. So he comes out of a woman that's full of sin, and then you're going to tell me he has no sin. That's a contradiction.
That's right.
That's a contradiction.
That's right.
So the issue of deliverance, saved. I want to be saved. Saved. Mm-hmm. Delivered. It's tangible. It's substantive. Delivered from what? I want to be delivered from my oppressors. Mm. Who are my oppressors? You're in a nation where you have been oppressed ever since you put your foot down in it. Mm.
Very true.
Ever since you put your foot down in it, ever since your ancestors put their foot in this nation, they have been oppressed. And to this very day, I call it the new lynching. Mm. Just because I was afraid. Mm. But I was afraid. Afraid of what?
Yeah.
What are you afraid of? You're afraid of the color of a man's skin. Mm. And I guarantee you, as I close tonight, every last one of these people that are dying, these mothers who are watching their children die, every last one of them believe in the salvation of Jesus Christ. And if that's the case, tell me, why did my child have to die this way?
Right.
If you're my Savior, why did my child, who was doing nothing, my daughter who was sitting in the house, my daughter who was sitting in the car, my baby who was sitting in the back, why did my baby get shot?
Yeah.
When he was innocent.
Why did he have to catch that stray bullet?
Why did they have to take the judgment?
Yeah.
When in fact, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to be through for the night. They that call upon the name of the Most High El shall be delivered. But that comes with a caveat, that you must also be walking in his ways in order to get the benefit of his protection. This has been Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr.
and Sean Appleton.
And this has been
Hebrews in Exile. Shalom.